we were working on this, and I think we got a wee bit into it, but not too far before we wrapped things up at a nice spot last time. So just quickly review our roots are lingu and turb. Lingu, of course, is language, but it more specifically is coming from the word for our tongue. And as I say, most of the sounds that we make with our mouths to speak words are created by moving our tongues in different places. And actually, if you do study linguistics in the future in university, a lot of time is taken describing what your tongue does when you're making sounds, which is interesting. And actually, where it touches on your mouth, the roof of your mouth, your teeth, for example, as well. And then turb is coming from the Latin word for agitation. So rubbing things together really is the root of that. So very quickly, we had quite a few different prefixes this time, by, dis, per, and tri. And these ones I think are pretty obviously taken from numerals, right? And I think I said last time that three, the number for three, that sound, that three or three, there's variations of it, but a lot of languages that are in the Indo-European grouping have this sound for the letter, or for the number three, sorry. And then for suffixes, al, ants, ents, ent, ix, and ist. So let's just go through the words very quickly again to remind ourselves of them. And I think that we did make it through these, so we'll just move on to the next spot. So disturbed, or disturb rather, linguist, bilingual, perturb, lingual, linguistics, trilingual, turbulence, disturbance, and turbulent. So we do have quite a few words that are relating to forces of nature and actual, I guess, as I say, agitation of different things, whether it is the wind being a turbulent thing or having maybe a turbulent conversation. Some of these words are used in both literal ways and metaphorical ways. So I'll just actually go through these very, very quickly before we get into it, just to remind us of what we said. So the science of language being linguistics, having or expressed in three languages is trilingual. One who specializes in languages is obviously a linguist. Involving two languages, bilingual. Relating to the tongue, lingual. To bother or interrupt, disturb. To worry or upset is perturb. And confusion, excited activity, and also wind currents that move very quickly is turbulence. So if anybody has been on an airplane before, we might have felt or been warned, for instance, over the intercom that maybe we were going to hit some turbulence. And so that's another way it can be used. Interruption, disorder, or turmoil. Right, so this is a disturbance. And stormy or disorderly is turbulent. So let's move into the example sentences. And after we do these 10, what we'll do is we'll switch over and do a little bit of discussing our historical root that we were going to talk about today. And then we'll come back to the next lesson afterwards. Okay, number one, although her native tongue was Spanish, the blank teacher spoke English fluently. The bilingual teacher, that's right. Very good. The anthropologist researched the blank of all of the neighboring tribes. Linguistics, yes. This is definitely something that the anthropologists will do. I actually do see another possibility here as well, and I want to give it as an example, just so that we can see. So we talked last time how an anthropologist and a sociologist, the difference is that a sociologist is studying how society is running, and an anthropologist is really looking at what the people are doing exactly. What do they believe in? For example, what languages do they speak as well? One other sentence that we could do is research the the turbulence between the neighboring tribes. If this was worded in this way, it's also a sentence that could be appropriate, because sometimes there are, say, a little bit of I guess rivalries between different tribes that are researched by anthropologists as well. So number 3, most European students are blank and not only know English as but a second foreign language as well. So yeah, I think trilingual in this case, meaning that they know 2 other additional languages, which is very much the case in Europe, mainly because there are so many small countries close to one another in this area. I knew someone from Switzerland long, long ago, and they didn't only speak Swiss German because it is a form of German, but they also spoke the German that was spoken in Germany, as well as French as as another language. So it is true. It's quite common for people to have at least 3 languages in Europe. Avery enjoyed traveling around the world as a professional linguist. Yeah. It can be really, it's hard for some people. It's really, really interesting linguistics. For some people, it's a little boring because they're like, what's the point of this? Why are we looking so deep into language? But for some people, it can be really, really neat. There is a kind of, I guess, like doing a puzzle almost and discovering something new. Okay. So the dentist discovered an infection on the blank side of the patient's tooth, the lingual side. Yeah. This happens, right? Sometimes whenever we bite our tongues, if we're eating, for instance, this can happen. A canker sore can develop. The sea is too blank for sailing. Turbulent. Yeah. And one fun thing, speaking of sea, just because we're going to be talking a little bit about the historical parts of Roman and Greek culture, the god of the ocean and the sea in ancient Greek culture was Poseidon. And actually, a lot of the times people would pray to him before they would even go onto the ocean because of the turbulent nature of the ocean. Not only in terms of just the waves and the storms that can happen, but also the large creatures that were not so safe for human beings to interact with, whales, sharks, etc. So a lot of the times, this was something that people did. And we do still see Poseidon, or if we want to use his Latin name, Neptune, which we also have a planet named after him. And of course, a big reason why they named Neptune the way it is it's a very dark blue color. Both the planets Neptune and Uranus are like this. All right. Number 7, don't blank the baby. She's asleep. Disturb. Yeah, this one's pretty easy. Our nation experienced much blank in the 1960s, meaning the United States here. Disturbance. Turbulence, sorry, not disturbance. Turbulence, yes, absolutely. And it wasn't all, this doesn't mean that it was all negative or bad things that were going on in the 1960s. It was that there was just a lot of change and a lot of